Muffin here with Rock Your Socks. Today we are going to talk about something a little uncomfortable. Today we are going to be talking about armaments. We get our armaments from the state forum. We could dispatch. We send out a random set of commanders for some action points to get either some chests or a formation armament. Or we go in, we could do travels where we send out a commander, use some action points, and get some armaments in return. We could also get some formation choice chests from the courier station that resets every Monday. I highly suggest that every free-to-play low spender buys at least the epic chests out of the courier station. The next thing that we need to look at is your state forum. Alright, so like at different levels of your state forum, you get more dispatches. I suggest everyone at least gets this to level 23 to get the 8 daily dispatch chances. The travels aren't that big of a deal. One less travel. You could go up to level 24, but it's almost no difference to get your state forum to level 23. If we get to level 25, we will no longer get the Sage Testimonies, which increases the number of armaments that you will receive. I also suggest that you take a look at your account and try to get this to level 25, because there are some things concerning armaments that you need, and one of them is you need a lot of armaments. As a free-to-play low spender, you're very limited in the ways that you're going to obtain armaments. Mainly, you're going to receive them from your state forum. Occasionally, you'll get them from events. In your event calendar, sometimes you have certain events where you could get formation choice chests. Whenever an event has a formation choice chest as an option to receive for a special currency, doing something specific in the game, I suggest that as a free-to-play low spender that you get those chests. You want to accumulate as many chests as possible. The only way that a free-to-play low spender is going to get good armaments is by sheer volume. Over time, you will receive more and more of these armament chests. As you're accumulating these armament chests, you could open them 10 at a time. We want to focus really on the epic and legendaries. When you open your epic chests, occasionally you will get some legendary ones, and sometimes even those might have an inscription on them. So whenever you get an inscription, that's what you're chasing when it comes to armaments. There's a certain mechanic in the game that's not talked about too often, but it's still there and kind of relevant. And what happens is, at a certain point, when you get so many stats, they end up getting nerfed a little bit. I don't know exactly what the levels are, but at a certain point, your stats will get nerfed. So we don't want to focus as a free-to-play low spender so much on the stats. We will, as a free-to-play low spender, get stats, but we are going to get them somewhere else. So right now, as you're accumulating those chests, you want to go in and to this armament shop in these transmutation stones. We want to start getting a nice stockpile of these, and you do that by recycling the armaments you get from your travels in your state forum, your dispatches in the state forum. As like I said before, we are chasing inscriptions. We can transmute legendary armaments that have an inscription on them. Do not be greedy when it comes to your armaments. Just because it's legendary, do not be afraid to recycle it. When you go into the superior, if you could accumulate 180 of these gold tokens, all right, we could trade them for this inscription shard chest. All right, so you see all these inscriptions, but we also have an opportunity to get transmutation stones, which, as a free to play low spender, we are after transmutation stones. We are going to get wrecked whenever we are re-rolling our armaments for stats. So you might end up re-rolling a specific armament many times by using these crystals. But we want to be careful whenever we're using transmutation crystals. At a certain point, you want to re-roll specific inscriptions. Say you're fortunate enough and you get an armament, and it's got some great stats but no inscription. We want to hoard that because if we're lucky enough, we get an autarch and put an inscription on it. So there's another reason why we want to hoard these, because you have your different tiers of inscriptions. So you have your legendary, your epic, and your normal tiers. But at a certain point, we are guaranteed to get a great inscription. So this says I need 106 more legendary armaments to get a great inscription. Whenever we get this, say this goes down to 0 and we get that inscription, we want to have those crystals available just in case we re-roll it with the regular transmutation stones 10 times and we don't have 3 stats for a specific troop type. So at that point, we want to use the crystal to try to re-roll for the stats again. So be very weary about using your crystals unless you are sure it is a great inscription. If you are unsure if it's a great inscription, it's not. You will be sure. All right? They come up yellow, they come up blue. Those are the ones that we are chasing. So if you have one of these inscriptions, and say this was 2 archer and a siege stat, use it. All right? It might be the best armament you have. All right? So when we are looking at armaments, it's dictating what we do in the game in the short term and the long term. What I mean by the short term is we might have decent inscriptions and stats for a specific troop type, but we might have great inscriptions and bad stats for various troop types. So over the long term, the great inscriptions, we are going to use our transmutation stones and our transmutation crystals and try to get them great. So also, the other thing to take in consideration is you might have amazing armaments for cavalry. It might have no cavalry commanders. So it's going to kind of dictate how you are going to look at your account moving forward. So you might end up keep getting inscriptions and armaments for a specific troop type, and that's what you are going to need to field. All right, so what you want to look at in the long term are your great inscriptions, all right, and various stats. That's what you want to be working towards in the long term. And as a free to play low spender, when it comes to your commanders, you're not getting a lot of MGE heads. Your gems are very limited and very precious. So knowing that armaments are a long-term item in your inventory, you want to play the game for the long term. And what I mean by this is you're getting your armaments, and your armaments are the one thing in the game you cannot control. So, knowing that we cannot control our armaments, we need the armaments to dictate what direction, as a free to play low spender, our account is going towards. I highly suggest that you look at your account and play the game this way. There are very many reasons why I'm saying this. Number one, people are still playing the game like it was years ago, before there was equipment, before there was armaments. Hey, we need all these meta top tier commanders. No, you don't. You need to focus on your account, look at your goals and what you're trying to accomplish. So, when you're playing the game, you're getting constant changes in the meta commanders. So here we have new infantry coming out with Scipio Aemilianus. All right, so with the every 3-4 months, a new set of commanders are being released into the game. So why would we, as a free-to-play low spender, focus our limited resources, being gems, on spinning wheels that are going to give us a lot of stuff that in the end game we don't really need? Like, just from courier station and doing events, you're accumulating research speed ups, building speed ups. That's not stuff that we're after. All right. With the evolving meta in the game, people need to adjust. And I'll be the first one to tell you, I hate the armament system. But when you look at it as a long term, where you're going to be constantly re-rolling and using your crystals and re-rolling, you think over the long term, with the way the armament system is set up, you are guaranteed at some point, with no investment, to have good armaments with good stats, as long as you just keep plugging away at it. And don't feel bad if you're looking at your armaments and you are like, oh, my armaments are so bad. Just keep working towards recycling all this garbage over and over and over and over. So eventually you'll be able to re-roll and roll good stats on a great inscription. Because I'm not going to lie, you're not alone in this world. Everyone gets wrecked with this armament. Occasionally you get someone comes in Alliance chat, they're like, yo, check out this one I just got. Don't be jealous of them. You're going to have one just like that eventually one day. What you need to work towards as a free-to-play low spender is not commanders, right? Not armaments. The armaments, you just go in, do your dispatches, do your travels, recycle, repeat. Recycle, repeat. Keep opening those. Pay attention to how many more you have to go until you get a premium inscription, and then start to get a little bit excited because you're like, oh, I'm going to have one. And then pretty soon you're going to have two. And then pretty soon you're going to have three. All right. As a free to play low spender, most of your activity during Alliance events is going to be in Ark of Osiris, field fighting, filling garrisons, filling rallies. We all want to be a rally lead. We all want to be a garrison lead. We want to be leading the war. I understand that. Just look at your account and be realistic about it. Be patient. Armament systems are going to take some time. You might not have a good one today, you might not have a good one tomorrow, but eventually, as long as you keep doing what I'm telling you to do, you will have great inscriptions and great armaments with great stats. I don't put anything other than free into it. I don't go in, I don't buy the bundles, I don't do that. I have pretty decent inscriptions, I have pretty decent stats on them. I do that by keep plugging away. I'm constantly re-rolling. I'm constantly using my crystals on the good ones, right? Keep trying to work them to a point where I can feel comfortable about them. All all I gotta say is, oh, please, when you look at your account, there's one thing that you need to work towards that is going to give you constant, guaranteed results, and that's your equipment. All right, not your commanders, not the armaments, with the evolving meta, right? And even when it comes to equipment, you need to be careful because the armaments over the long term are going to dictate what troop type you are going to be using. And as a free to play low spender, you might field 4 marches, but most of the time you should only be fielding 3. So once you realize that you only need stuff to fill 3 marches, that's less time that you're going to have to spend re-rolling and just worrying about armaments, which you don't need to worry about armaments. Over time, you will have good ones. All the people that go in and buy all these bundles for the armaments, they're just speeding up this process. But just hear me out here. Just take your time, be patient, don't worry about it. So when you get your legendary inscription, your epic inscription, whatever troop type you're able to roll that in, you need to start accumulating heads for the next release of commanders, and hopefully those commanders for that troop type on your good armament are meta. We hope they aren't duds like Suleiman or Lu Bu. Boo hoo. Alright, so just keep amassing your stuff and keep opening it slowly and getting towards what should be your goal with armaments, getting a decent inscription and decent stats. Alright, I will be uploading another video about equipment. In the meantime, what you should be doing when it comes to your equipment is accumulating these choice chests. Alright? Accumulate your gems. Alright? Because you will need your gems and you will need your equipment choice chests. Alright? Thank you once again, this Muffin with Rock Your Socks. Thank you and have a wonderful day.